thoughts, opinions, and general overall shade thrown on High at 9 News are those of the individual speakers and not those of High at 9 News, its audience, or its advertisers. The statements made do not constitute medical, legal, or financial advice, and for advice tailored to your specific situation, please consult with a licensed professional. Welcome to the High at 9 News Hour, where you will hear from cannabis industry experts and professionals from around the country talk about important topics while shining light on global issues and discussing cannabis as it relates to politics, regulation and reform, data and technology, science, research and medicine, family and parenting, art, celebrities and entertainment, fitness, sports, mental health and wellness, and plant-based medicines and entheogenics. Together, we are building a stronger community, fighting the stigma and creating change. With your host, Jason Beck, joined by special industry expert correspondents from around the country, and daily antics brought to you by Cannabis. Coming to you live every Monday through Friday at 9 a.m. Pacific time and high noon on the East Coast. And thank you all for getting high at 9 with us. Yes. Good morning, everybody. That's right. It is Thursday, November 20th, you guys. And today, let's see, we got a few things going on today. Today is National Rural Health Day today.
Oh, that's in sad shape in this country right now.
I don't know about all that. I think it's in pretty good shape overall, but
well, my son-in-law works for a company that provides rural health care, and I think they have something different to say about that.
Fair enough. That's probably because they always just want more, maybe, Dale.
Well, the tap dried out.
Tapping out. Well, let me see. What else do we have today? So, you know what, Dale? You know what else it is? This is definitely your day. Today, it is National Absurdity Day, Stone Slade.
That's absurd.
Sometimes life is absurd.
Yes. Yeah. It is absurd. The absurdities of life, you know. You know what's not absurd is they released those Epstein files, man. People have been getting into it already this morning.
Yeah, man.
Speaking of that, it's also the National Great American Smokeout today.
Yeah.
Get your barbecues ready.
Get away from the slag.
Get your barbecues ready. You know what I'm saying? Burn all that tumbleweed you got, Stone.
Get out of here.
Smoke it with Delta 8, right?
Mm-hmm. all that Tinder he's got.
Yeah, buddy.
It's also National Child's Day today. Shout out to children.
Child?
Yeah, child.
Oh, children.
Yeah, children. Yeah, child.
Oh, yeah.
Yes,
yeah.
National
I got a whole
Child's
bunch of
Day.
them.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. National Child's Day.
Every day you can be around a kid and hug him and kiss him is a good day.
That's right. And it is also
good things.
No, and it's also National Peanut Butter Fudge Day today, you guys. Shout out to peanut butter fudge.
Isn't that a contradiction? Just saying.
I don't know. Well, I'm a big fan of peanut butter fudge. I think that's probably the superior fudge of them all.
Well, there you go.
You know, that's just my opinion, but whatever. You know, I mean,
acquired taste, right?
Yeah, I'm a peanut butter nut. I love peanut butter. You can almost put peanut butter on almost anything.
I'm actually with you there, Jason.
Yeah.
I'd be a much bigger fan in general of just National Peanut Butter Day, which I'm sure is out there somewhere.
Don't worry, it's one of these days this year. I'm sure peanut butter has a pretty big lobby. But anyways, thank you all for joining us and getting high at 9 with us. It's also high noon on the East Coast. And please remember to like, share, and subscribe to us on all social media platforms. You can look up above and down below to see exactly where we live on the internet. And we are live every Monday through Friday on YouTube, Rumble, Twitch, X, Instagram, Facebook, Kick, as well as on our very own website, www.high9news.com. So welcome to everyone joining us from any one of those platforms. And man, you guys, Ohio lawmakers reach intoxicating hemp marijuana deal. And it's awaiting a Senate vote, you guys. That's right. Lawmakers tasked with hammering out legislative compromise on a regulatory structure for intoxicating hemp products and tweaks to Ohio's adult use marijuana laws inked a deal just after midnight on Thursday. Though the agreement needs further confirmation before it gets sent over to the governor. The Conference Committee on Senate Bill 56, the vehicle by which the legislature proposed its plans on intoxicating hemp and adult use marijuana, approved a compromise along party lines with Republicans somewhat begrudged and Democrats dismayed. Of course they were. The deal, shaped by Congress's recent decision to effectively ban intoxicating hemp products, would confine intoxicating hemp products to Ohio's adult use marijuana dispensaries, yanking them out of gas stations, convenience stores, and wellness stores that have established a lucrative, though unregulated, marketplace. There's a temporary, slightly more open market set on intoxicating hemp drinks, Representative Brian Stewart, Republican from Asheville, told this outlet. In a quote, "When it comes to the THC beverages, we're essentially going to mirror federal law. They're going to have the 1-year runway to be legal as long as they're legal at the federal level," Stewart said. But those bills also include legislature's intent, should the federal government reverse its course, to create a free market for THC drinks in the state. Representative Tex Fisher, Republican from Boardman, who was seen as a staunch advocate for maintaining a retail market for intoxicating hemp products, told reporters that he had to be convinced to vote on the bill, and the agreement to revisit the issue of THC drinks was one of the key components that got him to change his mind, he said. "I think we have a good faith agreement that we're going to come back and figure out something that's reasonable, that can work, and hopefully allow folks to pivot into that realm of the industry. Given that other avenues are going away," Fisher said. Democrats described the deal for its impact on the THC drink market in particular. And the bill marks several changes to Ohio's adult use marijuana laws, too. Perhaps most notable is that it makes a clerical fix that allows the state to begin dispersing money from its host community fund, which has been accumulating 36% of all adult use marijuana excise taxes, with the intent of being distributed to local municipalities that are home to adult use dispensaries. The House approved the deal at 1:14 a.m., by a vote of 52 to 34, with all Democrats and a handful of Republicans voting in opposition. The deal still needs to be confirmed by the Senate, which adjourned shortly after 9 p.m., guaranteeing that a full deal couldn't be sent to Ohio Governor Mike DeWine until the higher chamber reconvenes. Senator Steve Huffman, Republican from Tip City, told reporters that he expects the Senate to reconvene sometime in December to get the deal over the finish line, you guys. Well. Ohio. Looks like there may be some players. There may not be some players in Ohio. I can't wait to hear what you guys have to say about this.
Well, the states are supposed to be the great laboratory of democracy.
Mm-hmm.
And once they drew a line in the sand, it's like we're going to see all the states trying to figure this out and sending their examples to Washington and asking for help. So I expect to see more of this. I don't think anybody's quite figured this out. And if they don't really keep in mind that don't pass a law you can't enforce, that's when I try to tell people all the time, this is not coming from any place than common sense.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're not appealing to the big undecided voters in the middle, rethink what you're doing. The market's out there, and doing shit just to piss people off, and you really can't stop what they're doing, punishing people for what people want to do. Just keep getting wrapped up in the old mentality when alcohol prohibition came to an end. It's like the question is, what in the hell are we doing here?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, let's stop this. And hopefully over the next year, that comes to a point where people that know something about the plant, markets, marketing, the industry, can get into a room and stop playing games. And let's not make this a drug. Let's make it something other than that. And, certainly let them take parts of it to be drugs, but this should be handled like alcohol or something like that. And just get out of the way and let people make money.
Get the hell out of the way.
Look for safety and welfare for citizens other than trying to control people and be their goddamn mommy and daddy.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Man. Ohio, man. They're going to make all of the little head shops pull all the product off their shelf. It's only going to be available in dispensaries. This is that thing you guys always talk about, that parity component, huh? You guys always are asking for.
Ohio seems to keep coming up, though, too, in discussion. It's one of the more volatile hemp battlegrounds out there. And they're, I don't have really that much of a reason for it outside of what we identify over and over again in sort of the loop of this program. But other than that, to simply say that it seems screamingly obvious that the people of Ohio really, really want access to cannabis, but the lawmakers essentially seem intent on keeping a lid on it. It's one of the better examples of that schism, I believe, between what the lawmakers want to hold down and what the people actually want. Where do you guys think that's going to go? Because again, Ohio, I've noticed it's coming up by the numbers so much more. And I think that it's because you have this two-way street,
I blame that two-way street on Nick Lachey, Nate, just so you know. Just so you know.
Oh no!
Yeah, come on, Stone.
I was totally in agreement with you when we were talking about peanut butter, man. So let's go back to that time.
Lost him on Nick Lachey.
Yeah.
Hey, if lawmakers were serious, they'd stop being afraid of hemp. They'd start treating cannabis and hemp as two separate species. Build a single coherent framework that protects consumers and lets local entrepreneurs grow. Instead, we get this bullshit where they're fixing problems that they created.
But Stone, don't you think that all these hemp products should just be able to be sold in any store anywhere?
No.
Instead, they're confining it to dispensaries.
I think that it should be. It should be regulated so that it's safe for the people that are getting it. It should be treated the same way cannabis is treated in legal cannabis states.
You think so? Hold on. So you're advocating
it all the way. It should be sold at farmers markets.
You're advocating by that statement, Stone Slade. You're advocating for overregulation and overtaxation. Just so you know,
I'm not regulating for overregulation.
Yeah, because you said it should all be treated the same.
He just literally said it should be allowed at farmer.
Talk about it.
He just said farmers markets, Jason.
Hold on, Nate. Let Stone speak for himself for a second. Hold on. Go ahead, Stone.
I said, strip away the 280E tax, fucking 100%. Treat the plant like it's one fucking plant. This variety is more CBD heavy. This one's more THC heavy. It's all good for us as one. Let us have this plant. What are we doing?
I can't believe.
Well, the problem is undoing the mess that they created. And that really is what we keep talking about.
That is.
And I mean, you go back to 1937 when they tried to make this illegal and then try to define hemp. And then they tried to, legalize hemp. And all of it is scare tactics going back to the end of the 1800s when they were trying to stop drug and alcohol use in the country. These were knee jerks from these right-wing Christian groups that eventually got alcohol prohibited. But drugs have been the redheaded stepchild. Nobody seems to want to treat like we treated alcohol. Alcohol's poison. It kills people. It makes them do stupid shit. They found out you can't stop people from using it. And at what point do they wake up and realize that people want to do this? And the more you try to act in loco parentis, like I'm your mother or your father and telling you no, the more people tell you, yeah, go fuck yourself. And then we have no respect for law and order. We have what we have right now. We're parsing shit out that should never have been parsed out. Why are we playing this game? This has never killed anybody. Okay, we act like, oh my God, it's all sprayed with fentanyl. Stop.
Yeah, exactly.
It's not what's going
on. Hysteria.
And if your kids eat a fucking gummy, they used to do that to kids to stop seizures. They sleep for 24 hours, wake up and take the breast. Okay, no one was like worried, oh, you're going to die. And as I've told you before, I watch kids die from eating Tylenol, and that shit they sell on the counter. Right?
Exactly.
We're just schizophrenic in how we look at this. And until we get beyond some of that, the nonpartisan politics just keep taking over this stuff. I think the number of people in the middle looking at this going, you guys do not know what you're doing. You don't respect people that are making these rules. Stop.
Fair enough. Anything you want to throw in this, Nate, before we roll the commercial?
No, I would just be echoing these two geniuses alongside me right here, man. So let's move forward.
All right, we shall move on to our first commercial, and we will be right back. Yes. And we are back. And man, I have an interesting story for you guys, because a trial opens in a consultant's $5 million injury lawsuit against a St. Louis marijuana company. Stone, I can't wait for you to hear your reaction to this, because Mark Avent says a mishandled vacuum at a St. Louis marijuana cultivation site sent marijuana dust into the air, triggering a medical emergency that ended his career in the cannabis industry, you guys. Vacuum. Wasn't even a vacuum pump. A California cannabis consultant is alleging he suffered permanent heart damage after a 2022 laboratory incident at a St. Louis-based marijuana cultivation and manufacturing facility. A St. Louis jury heard opening statements Tuesday in a lawsuit where consultant Mark Avent and his wife, Lisa, are seeking $5 million in damages, arguing the incident triggered a medical emergency that ended his career in the cannabis industry. The incident in question happened at a facility at 5401 Bueller Avenue, owned by Blue Arrow, Missouri, LLC, where marijuana is grown and manufactured into products. In 2022, a lab technician accidentally mishandled the commercial vacuum used to clean the lab equipment, and the vacuum blew fine marijuana dust particles into the air, and Avent suffered a severe asthma attack. He was taken to the emergency room and lost consciousness in the ambulance. Maybe he just fell asleep. But doctors inserted a stent into his heart to save him, Meme said, and he still hasn't fully recovered 4 years later. In a quote, "This was an accident that should not have happened," said William Meehan, Avent's attorney. "It was preventable, and they haven't taken responsibility for it. That's why we're in trial." On the stand on Tuesday, John Wilbers, a founder and chairman of Blue Arrow, testified that the company acknowledged the incident, and he read portions of the report the company submitted to the Occupational Safety and Health Administration, better known as OSHA, which described how the technician didn't immediately shut down equipment when he saw the particles enter the air. The report also states that the door should be closed during all processing activities. And Wilbers told The Independent on Tuesday after his testimony that the company isn't trying to sweep it under the rug. And Wilbers is a personal injury attorney in St. Louis who started the company with his mother, Kathy, who died last week. His mother was the majority owner of the 2 cultivation, 1 manufacturing, and 1 dispensary licenses the state awarded them back in 2019, according to records obtained from the Missouri Division of Cannabis Regulation. And Wilbur said he understands how companies play games in personal injury lawsuits. "I deal with them on the other end," he said, "and I don't live my life like that. So if somebody's injured, we're going to help them." The point of conflict, Wilbur said, is how much the company should pay. Wilbur said Avent had a previous asthmatic condition. And they say he is alleging that due to his inhalation, he had some asthmatic issue and medical conditions developed. And now he can no longer work, he said. "Based upon my experience as a personal injury lawyer, that's not supported." In the opening arguments, Meehan said Avent needs continued care to treat his heart damage and memory loss. And in a quote, "Mark was a healthy person before this incident," Meehan said. "He exercised regularly and he had no physical problems. He had no prior heart disease and no prior heart condition." On top of his ongoing medical bills, Meehan said Avent has lost at least $130,000 a year in income because he can no longer work in the marijuana industry. And in a quote, "His personal life," he said, "has been turned upside down." Well. Man, I'll tell you what, good thing this guy's going up against these groups. He might actually get some money, because if he was going up against Kim Rivers, I'm sure he would get absolutely nothing. But I can't wait to hear what you guys have to say about this.
My first thought is this sounds like a work comp claim to me.
Exactly.
And I've done all sides of these cases, and it makes me chuckle when you hear there was nothing wrong with him, and he was sicker than the dog. You know,
a vacuum cleaner took him out, Dale. A vacuum cleaner.
Well,
he's a consultant from California.
Okay, but what does that mean?
That's my point.
An independent contractor, and he's responsible for his. And then at some point, if you're asthmatic and you go into a dusty environment, are you accepting any part of that risk? Are you notifying your employer, I've got
Yep.
I've had employers where they come in and put a red tag on the door because shit's unsafe inside there.
Yeah.
Like, let's figure out what happened here. I don't know if any of that happened, but this industry is real new, and insurance, they have it. Because I was hired by insurance companies. These are the kind of things that I'm looking to write a check and settle this thing.
Yeah.
And we settle it.
Yeah.
And he may be over exaggerating what happened here, and they may be underplaying what they did. And
I just think,
what can I say?
oh man, I don't think this guy's going to walk away with $5 million. I can tell you that much. Not based off of this argument.
It's a jury trial. You got to convince them. And I've been a pro tem judge before, trying to settle these disputes. And I'm not nice to people. I close the door and what the fuck do you think you're doing? $5 million, where'd that come from?
Yeah.
On the other side, this guy he's got problems. You're responsible for it. What the hell are you doing? Get your head out of your ass here.
Yeah.
Let's figure this out. Once you get to a jury, that's depends if they could get nothing or little or
I think he'd just be happy. Ultimately, I think he'd just be grateful for getting his medical bills paid and just call it a day and walk away.
Oh, but that's standard PI shit. These are turn and burn cases where I want my medical bills and a little money and pay the attorney. This is not one of those. If he really had his lungs blow up, and I don't know, a heart, when you breathe dust, it does not make your heart blow up. I'm sorry. Going to have to bring a couple experts in to explain that one to me.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. I'm with you on that.
And I could see some problems with the lungs. And if you get what they call hypoxic in your brain, I mean, okay, I can see those arguments, but got to convince, the mom raising a kid who's a pain in the ass that you should get $5 million for this kind of stuff. And I'm not going to make a big bet they will.
Yeah, I don't think he's going to get $5 million. That's for sure. Maybe he's trying to move back to California. That's why he needs the $5 million because houses out here are expensive. Could be why.
Well, sometimes you shock the conscience of a jury. It's like, I remember bad baby cases. You just don't ever want to go in front of a jury with a bad baby. And if you got an asshole as a client, you don't want to be there because the jury's like, you're an asshole. I ain't giving you $5 million. And those are themes of the cases. I'm telling you, I've done themes of cases where I want the jury to know I think this guy's an asshole and you are too. Yeah. And he's a lying sack of shit. And, it's, that I don't go to the courtroom anymore because I can't stop cussing or I have not cussing. And, this just smells a little bit to me.
Fair enough. Stone, Nate, any thoughts on this?
I think accidents happen in every industry, man. But in cannabis, the stakes are a little higher because of we're fighting the stigma and everything around it. So maybe you'll have a chance. I think $5 million is a little crazy. But
you think the stakes are higher because of something in the air, Stone?
No. I think the stakes are higher for cannabis. Like if you're in a jury trial, just because of the stigma around the space that it's somehow reckless or unprofessional, whatever. Like we're crazy stoners.
Because people are just horsing around in these facilities.
Like this poor guy.
They're just.
I've also seen insurance companies race to decisions that oftentimes just simply end in a settlement just to make it go away. And I think that's because they, haven't been beaten black and blue yet, so to speak, by potentially frivolous lawsuits. I think in most industries, they've seen enough, not to, minimize the damage slip and fall can do, but let's assume as a proverbial slip and fall, but not really kind of scenario. I feel like based on how I've seen certain people behave with insurance companies, that they feel there's still some ground to cover, like almost like we're still carving out that period before insurance companies get sick of, potentially frivolous lawsuits. And what can you do to maximize on this? No, I've been in hundreds of scenarios with production environments, and in most environments, I run into at least one employee who seems to have some kind of sensitivity or acute sensitivity to cannabis. It's common. And every time I've run into that, their employer, and not to just, I mean, this is a very generic statement, not anybody in particular, their employer always seems to be extremely accommodating towards that. Like, oh yeah, of course, you know, we don't quite know what it looks like for people to work inside of cannabis facilities for long periods of a time at a time, especially where there's so much concentrated in such small areas and rooms that state regulations have spelled out that we're only allowed to do this particular act here. We're still figuring that out. And I think in most cases, in terms of my contact with the industry, most people are super aware that that's the scenario. This does seem really different because here's somebody who seems to be outside of that bubble of how we generally work together and how we would look towards one another. And to what Dale said, if somebody's walking into an environment that you know for a fact there's a concern of certain sensitivities, but you didn't let others know or wear a respirator, which is something I've had to do in environments. You know, yeah, look like a dork wearing a respirator. Like that's in a business environment when it comes to protective gear, that's the kind of stuff you have to do. So the fact that it's being allowed to go this far is mind-boggling. It will be interesting though, because one way or another, this is going to be like the most extreme version of somebody bringing legal affairs and sensitivities to cannabis together. And this is the biggest version of that. So we're going to see how far they get to go, or to the points that were made before now, how far it's going to get cut down.
How far it's going to get cut down? Well, time will tell. We shall see. This is going to be an interesting case, and the fact that it's happened in Missouri, I find a little interesting as well. But nonetheless, we're going to keep this train rolling. We're going to roll right into attorney at law, Mr. Dale Schafer. Dale has been an attorney since the Reagan administration. He has represented physicians, hospitals, insurance companies, corrections officers, and for the last 25 years, he specialized in cannabis law. He served a 5-year federal prison sentence for helping medical marijuana patients and managed to save his law license. He's blunt. He doesn't smoke them because they're ratchet, they're nasty, they turn your teeth yellow and other things yellow, but he is honest and he's unconcerned with your opinion, public opinions, and anyone else who ever wants to have an opinion. And he will show you how he can defy gravity by pissing up a rope. That's right, is your favorite Tio Loco, and you can now find him at his own law office, at the law office of none other than Dale Schafer.
Hi, good morning, everybody.
Yeah.
Your favorite Tio Loco and Jason Beck. Full of shit.
Full of shit.
Never going to live to be as old as I am. So,
yeah.
You know, sense of humor. My story this morning comes out of Marijuana Moment. Kyle Yeager wrote it yesterday. Headline is, people drink significantly less alcohol after smoking marijuana, a federally funded study shows. And it talks about, you know, what we out here know as California sober, which is a de facto condition where if you are getting close to a substance use disorder or actually have one, you find that smoking weed helps you not to have your cravings for your drug, I call that California sober. And there was a study done, it was published in the journal Psychiatry. Now, this is important because it's one more piece of information from a federally funded study written by a recognized group within the medical community that specializes in addiction. And they're talking about how do we help people who are at or near a substance abuse disorder. And one of the things we found now is that if someone has an alcohol problem or they're close to being diagnosed with an alcohol problem, if you put them in a situation where they have weed to smoke and alcohol available, they find that there is a significant decrease in the desire to use alcohol if you got weed available. And if weed's not available, then the opposite's true. Then you turn to alcohol when the cues are there. And this is sort of a stage thing. What they did is they used government swag at 7.2, I think, and 3.1 or something like that. But we used to get and call it commercial Mexican weed back in the Cheech and Chong's days. This is what the government produces. We call it government swag. They also had a placebo, which had 0.03. Even less than hemp. Hemp's pretty nasty when you smoke. I don't know how they snuck this past people. The placebo was to have them smoke this basically worthless hemp or whatever the fuck you want to call it, joint. So, but what this brings up is that what we're finding officially is verifying what those of us who've been around treating people using cannabis for decades now, is that if you're using a substance and you're questioning whether you're abusing the substance, smoking weed helps you use less of that substance. Okay? And this really brings up a big question floating around now in the addiction treatment community about harm reduction. And we see the war on drugs was not about harm reduction. It was, if you use this drug and we catch you, we're going to kick your ass, so stop. And that didn't work. Drugs won that war on drugs, okay? And so then they tried, let's have drug court. If you're doing things that put the public at risk, and I think most of us are okay with doing something. I mean, driving under the influence of something, operating machinery, things that, are going to harm the community. I think we're all pretty cool with that. Just slamming somebody because they're in possession of a drug or because they're using it, I don't know that you get a lot of support for just throwing people like that in jail, letting them loose, and then finding them in a tent somewhere, flat backing or stealing copper to get their drug. That we all recognize as a problem. And this is bringing about discussion, which is coming up from these GLP-1 drugs, Ozempic and Wegovy and all this stuff that helps you lose weight. But it's affecting the part of the brain where we have dopamine drops and craving. Cannabis now seems to fall in that same category from some official studies. Now, what does it mean? Well, this was full, if we're going to call it full spectrum swag, okay, I'm going to assume it had all the other naturally occurring cannabinoids and some terpenes in there to make it smell like you're smoking weed and all that kind of stuff. They need to do some breakup of this now and see if it's more THC that does this or if it's CBD that does this, because there's evidence out there that both seem to work. And CBD may be better than THC. But these are going to require some studies, and these new GLP-1 drugs require the same, because they seem to have sort of the same effect on people's cravings. And I know a lot of people in the drug addiction treatment community, and most of them that I pal around with or have communication with, they follow the harm reduction model. They've recognized that being your dad with a belt telling you, if you touch it again, I'm going to beat your ass, doesn't work with drugs. And that's the approach we've had with prohibition. And we need to move away from that. And to be honest, it looks like the drug war may be heating up a bit out in the Caribbean and the Eastern Pacific, which I told you last week concerns me, as I've talked to people in the community. We don't want cannabis being caught in the drug war. This is some more evidence to get it, hopefully get it out of the drug war. Okay? I'm not in favor of rescheduling to Schedule 3 or 5 or whatever, because this seems to work. I'm in favor of getting it out and then doing the research. And if there are compounds that can be mixed with other things to make a pharmaceutical, I'd love you. Go ahead and do that. I mean, right now, Marinol is on a Schedule 5 or something right now. It's just basically worthless, but it's there. It's a THC product that's you can prescribe. Mm-hmm. That may be something down the road that the pharmaceutical industry can make use of, although it may turn out to be a nutraceutical. Hey, if you're struggling with alcohol, try this. Maybe you use a liquid so you're not thinking about smoking, if tobacco's your drug. I mean, these are just ways of looking at human beings and understanding we have a Paleolithic nervous system. And these drugs have been around for a very long time, and the toothpaste has been out of the tube for millennium now. People know what these things do, and when it makes them feel good, they're going to want to do them again. And we as a society have not handled this well. So I'm going to throw this back for some discussion, because this is just another check off on the boxes of this being more legitimately looked at and treated more like alcohol and less like heroin and fentanyl. Throw it back at you guys for your comment.
Stone loves beverages. He's a big fan of these candy beverages.
Bro. Yeah, beverages are good. Hey, it's a good segment and it's doing well. I love the study. I don't know about that. The study. It's another official FU from science.
You think so?
I wish they would follow the science. I said it earlier. Remove the legal distinction between these two plants that are related, and let's open it up. Deschedule or bust. I do wonder, though, when these people are saying that smoking is making them not want to drink more? Is it because they're not craving the alcohol, or it's because, oh, if I drink, I'm going to get the spins and I'm going to barf? I don't know, but either way, I like it. It's positive. It's scientific, and people like Mitch McConnell and Dan Patrick should pay attention.
So deficiencies in the endocannabinoid system and people who are off balance in certain ways has been linked to substance abuse problems as a way of normalizing themselves.
What do you define as off balance?
As soon as you reduce the stigma of cannabis, you allow now new ways for people to normalize themselves. And let's be honest, this is a hell of a lot more natural and less invasive in your body as a means of normalizing yourself than, say, alcohol. And so this is a big, I see a very strong, I see this being very strongly linked to my story last week, where it was essentially, it was a different study, but essentially the exact same thing, only specifically dealing with cannabis drinks versus just cannabis and what was given to people through this program that Dale was reporting on. But overall, it's the same idea. We're literally talking about parallels and just evidence point over evidence point of this stuff stacking up. It's not ignorable now. I mean, literally, we're surrounded by it. We've hit that threshold where now cannabis is common enough and enough people are doing research on it to where that is now what's being talked about, right? That is now what's being made obvious. I do agree, too, that there's a little bit of a war, so to speak, out there, not just drug war, but the war of the speed of information. How commonplace will this information be over the simple statement of drugs are bad and cannabis is a drug? So there you have it.
It's called the info war.
That's what we're watching play out right now, I think, in real time. Because literally what we're also reporting on as every week as areas of setback that's largely being created around our favorite plant. I mean, it's unavoidable right now. So it's, what's going to pile on more support and good information and scientific data, or propaganda and the general concerns that this is against the conservative status quo. And I mean conservative in a general side, not to bring this into a fully political, but if it's conservative, then it might be calling cannabis bad. Let's just leave it at that.
Well, it's still caught up in sort of these culture wars. And I think this generation that was, Generation X and Z, my kids' generation, they grew up not buying the bullshit. I mean, they're looking at this and we just don't buy that this is some dangerous drug.
Yep.
And there's a lot of forces that refuse to go back and honestly look at why did we call something a drug? What were we trying to accomplish? And admitting that we failed. Now, can we try something different? I think this next generation is more open to let's try something different here. Okay. And the criminal justice system is just not a good place to do this because they're I'll use the metaphor. They're like a dad with a belt.
Yeah.
Okay. Told you not to do this and you're going to do it. Okay. I'm going to spank you. You're going to jail. Okay. And it's not that simple. If somebody is doing something that violates the criminal laws to get their drugs, okay, that's going to bring to the attention of the criminal justice system. But how do you deal with that? Because the criminal justice thinks doctors are a bunch of pansies. They won't take any firm steps with drug addicts. Okay. And the treatment community thinks that, the prohibitionist mentality in the criminal justice system doesn't fix the problem either, makes it worse. How do you get them to talk to each other when they've got assumptions on both sides that, aren't helping the problem? This needs to leave the area of politics, go into discussion, because there aren't too many families in this country who don't have somebody in the family struggling with alcohol, tobacco. In my family, we're dealing with crank. People just love that shit.
Crazy, right? Yeah.
It's crazy.
Bro.
And how do you deal with them? Because now it's like at some point your body says, hey, you rode me hard and put me away wet. Yeah. Now I'm done. What are you going to do with these folks?
They just do some more crank and they just roll again.
Well, until they're leaking blood out their ass, their liver gets up, their lungs shut down, and their brain turns off, and you go, okay, now who's paying for this?
The taxpayers.
Oh, well, the taxpayer, those are family discussions going on right now. I think the average family can understand. Let's talk some turkey here. This is another, I would call another arrow in the quiver of trying to help people struggling with substance abuse. Okay? And we can just be honest, because I got them in my own family. Okay. And when I sit down and talk to them, I can be as blunt as I am here or say, hey, I love you, man. Can we talk about this? This is not going anywhere. Okay.
Yeah.
We need to get a handle on this. And I don't have the answers, but we're not talking about it like we're parents and brothers and uncles and aunts and all that stuff, dealing with someone who just is dying from substance abuse.
Yeah.
And we keep dragging shit like a weed into it. Oh, we've got a cannabis substance use disorder.
Yeah.
Stop putting in the same category as fucking heroin, meth. Stop doing that. People don't believe it. And you lose all credibility. We can't have an honest discussion. I'm a dad and a grandpa, and I'm an uncle, and I've got all over the place looking at people in the eye and go, you're going to kill yourself. And then we're going to a funeral. Yep, you killed yourself.
Yep.
You dumbass. Now what?
Stop
what do
the
we learn
hypocrisy.
from this?
Exactly. I feel you, Dale. I'm with you, buddy. I am with you, man. Oh, man. It's rough. It's rough. Any final thoughts, you guys?
The world is an unfair place.
That's right.
Shit's rough, bro.
It's rough.
Yeah.
Rough around the edges. It's like Stone's beard in the morning. You know what I'm saying? And on that, we're going to roll into our next commercial, and we are going to be right back.
Every legend has a humble beginning.
In world news, leaders are gathering today for the annual summit.
I want to tell you something, Che. The government is watching us through the television.
Oh, John.
Look, right there. They're trying to hack into my TV box.
We're still not able to hack into the TV box, sir.
Ha! But they can't.
I've rebuilt the entire electronic system, and it sends and receives signals through quantum phase space. They'll never get in. Engage target.
In other news, local authorities are investigating a series of strange atmospheric phenomena reported by residents.
Ma'am, we're with the federal government. We need to ask you some questions.
John?
Is there a problem? We've been trying to penetrate your TV box for over 6 months.
I told you they were trying to watch us through the TV, but you didn't believe me.
We can't get in, and to be frank, we have no idea what you've created.
Yeah, that's the point. It's called privacy. You know what the Fourth Amendment guarantees?
All we know is that we can't get inside. We want to know if you can create one for us.
QUX. Even the government wants one.
I mean, I'm drinking
and
Baileys
we are
and
back. Yeah, stop whatever you're doing. Make sure you smash that like button. I know we'll appreciate it. You'll appreciate it, and YouTube will appreciate it. Also, make sure you subscribe to the channel if you're not subscribed already. And all of the articles that we cover on today's show, you can read directly on our website at www.high9news.com.
Introducing QUX Pay, or simply the Pay app.
Where you can pay like it's nobody's business.
Because it isn't. It's what everyone's been clamoring for. It's finally here.
Secure every payment. Your data stays private. QUX will never sell your data for profit, period. Pay friends, family, contacts instantly. No hidden fees. No limits. Spend on the move.
With this patented technology, you can use debit, credit, bank transfers, cash cards, and even crypto completely offline.
Amounts transferred through the Pay app reach their destination instantly. Transfers in a flash. As quick as sending a text. No more waiting around like crypto. Are you ready for the future of payments? The state of the art for money is finally here.
Data privacy and security protocols trusted by militaries and banks worldwide. QUX Pay, the Pay app.
Available as an app and point of sale system, personal and corporate accounts available. Go to QUXPay.com and start using the Pay app today.
And we are back. We are going to roll right in to the Texas veteran himself, Mr. Stone Slade. He loves to roll around in the tumbleweeds while basking with his Delta 8 pen in the sunshine. That's right. All with a cowboy hat and cowboy boots on with a pack of cigarettes rolled up in his sleeve is none other than the man himself, Mr. Stone Slade.
I feel like in that introduction, the only thing you got right was my name and my location.
Hey,
but anyway. Slanderous. I'm gonna have to sue. I think. I bet.
I don't know.
Some of this Delta
I don't know any good lawyers though, so I can't help you, dude.
Yeah. Ah, damn. Anyway, all right, cool. Let's get out of Texas and go to Latin America.
Oh yeah.
Latin America is stepping into a new era of travel where cannabis, culture, food, and wellness are starting to overlap in real ways. Not the old backpacker stereotype, but something more intentional. Travelers want nature, heritage, good food, and an honest look at how cannabis connects to the land and the people who grow it. In this region, those roots run deep. The story is not about one dominant destination. Each country is moving at its own pace, shaped by politics, tradition, and local plant knowledge. Together, they're building one of the most interesting cannabis travel landscapes anywhere in the world. Costa Rica isn't legal for adult use just yet, but already one of the most compelling cannabis-adjacent travel destinations on the map. Medical cannabis and hemp are legal, and regulated medical products are finally reaching pharmacies this year. Personal use is effectively decriminalized, and discrete consumption is treated as low priority. Because the country's identity is built on an ecotourism, sustainability, and holistic retreats, cannabis fits naturally into yoga programs, cacao ceremonies, herbal workshops, and wellness travel in places like Nostra, Tamarindo, Puerto Viejo, and even without a full adult use market, Costa Rica is setting the tone for cannabis-forward wellness tourism. Mexico recognizes personal cannabis use and home grow as constitutional rights. Congress still hasn't created the commercial system to match, and that means possession is decriminalized, cultivation has legal protections, and cannabis is everywhere in creative hubs and nightlife. But there's still no legal adult use retail market, especially not for visitors. Belize allows adults to possess up to 10 grams on private property. Everything beyond that stays illegal. The result is a relaxed, informal cannabis scene in coastal hotspots, but no regulated tourism pathway. The government nearly moved towards legalization, but pulled back, leaving the country as a decriminalized holding pattern. Guatemala, El Salvador, Honduras, Nicaragua, stay away from there. They remain prohibition heavy, no medical programs, serious penalties for possession. Travelers should not build into their plans for these countries. Panama now, Panama has a formal medical cannabis law and controlled framework for cultivation and import. Recreational adult use is still illegal, but the medical sector is growing. Expect conferences before you see cannabis lounges. We've talked about Colombia before on the show, I think a couple of weeks ago, where their president made the bold trade offer to Trump. It's one of the region's cannabis leaders. Medical cannabis is well established, and pharmacies now offer legal flower. Recreational possession up to 20 grams is decriminalized, and home cultivation is allowed. Cannabis culture shows up in Medellin's creative neighborhoods, Bogota's nightlife, wellness retreats, and farm tours. There's no legal adult use stores, so purchases do remain informal. Peru has a medical program and an 8-gram decriminalization limit. Paraguay allows up to 10 grams and is debating legalization. Argentina permits medical access and de facto decriminalized personal use, but cannabis remains politically unpredictable. Brazil decriminalized up to 40 grams through its Supreme Court and building a serious medical and agricultural industry. Ecuador, Bolivia, and Venezuela remain far more conservative. Uruguay remains the only country in the region with true nationwide legalization. Residents can buy from pharmacies, home grow, or join cannabis clubs. Tourism still can't legally purchase, although private consumption is tolerated. The culture is calm, mainstream, and normalized. Puerto Rico, going over to the Caribbean, has a large regulated medical market, a creative culture where cannabis is openly woven into food, wellness, and nightlife. Can't replace that. Guana, sorry about that. Start over. Guana, Suriname remain, I butchered both of those, but they're in the article. Remain prohibitionist with small exceptions. Well, there's no reason anyway. Nothing to offer for cannabis folks traveling. Latin America's cannabis travel scene stands out because it's rooted in authenticity. wellness retreats, ancestral plant knowledge, cacao traditions, regenerative agriculture, and cultural creativity are shaping the vision of cannabis travel that feels connected, not commercialized. As 2026 approaches, the region is building new models in real time. Some countries lean towards wellness, others lean medical. Some rely on tradition instead of law. Together, they offer something rare, a cannabis travel experience defined by meaning and not marketing. Check it out if you can. I'm Stone Slade with the High at 9 News.
Look at that. South America. Man, they got that great weather down there, Stone Slade.
Good weather, and you know, maybe remains to be seen. Probably some good cannabis. You might smoke something down there, Jason. You know what I'm saying?
Hey, you know, when in Rome, Stone, when in Rome. You know what I mean? You know, if you don't try bad things, you'll never know what the best things are. You know what I'm saying?
Right. So if you're ever there, take Jason with you, because Jason only smokes the best weed in the world.
That's right.
Then by association, you would only find the best weed in the world.
I would only find, yes. As soon as I touch down, I would already know exactly where to go, exactly who to reach out to, what pager number to dial, and
what's that?
Yeah, what's up? Yeah, maybe it's on WhatsApp app. Who knows? You know what I mean? You never know. You never know. You know, maybe it's on Signal, Stone.
Maybe.
Just maybe. Just may have to send a signal out into the metaverse. You know what I'm saying?
There you go.
I've arrived.
Good times in South America, though. A lot of fun to be had on a little adventure.
I think I'm actually going to be going to South America sometime next year, realistically too. So this would be a good little, you know what I mean? This should be interesting. You know, I'm a big fan of South America. You know, the coolest thing about South America is that when you're down there, you know, the toilet, it flushes in the opposite direction, goes counterclockwise instead of clockwise. I always thought that was cool. Yeah.
It's called the Coriolis effect.
Yeah. Yep. South of the equator, baby.
You would remember that, right?
Bro, I remember all the important things, Dale. That's what I specialize in.
Oh, yeah. Well,
South America, the first thing you're going to hear is, guys, come here.
Yeah,
check this out.
Yeah, look at this. Yeah. Look at this.
South of our border sounds as schizophrenic and drug policy as the United States is right now.
Mm-hmm.
And if you notice that any place where you wonder, gee, someone wants weed and you really can't get it in the league, what happens? Somebody knows somebody, you step around the corner and voila, you got some weed.
Mm-hmm.
That's how it happens everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
And we get politicians to recognize that, you know, wink, wink, nod, nod. If that's what you want to do, fine. But if you want to regulate and tax it, and wink, wink, nod, nod doesn't work anymore. So, you know, pick a lane here if you want one. What concerns me about what's happening with Coke and, you know, the northern South America is that I think we need to revisit our International Convention on Drugs and stop pretending like we're in the 1960s. Stop it. Let's redefine this. And perhaps even the United States can get their head out of their ass and go, okay, let's recognize that we've got to find a new way to do this so we can get some uniform policies going. That, you know, that's wishful thinking. That's the old ideologue in me that I'm now disillusioned and I'm a cynic. So
yeah,
I'm channeling George Carlin today. I'm going to pop to 30,000 feet with some popcorn and chuckle at how stupid human beings are.
That's good, deal. Channel the George Carlin, bro. We missed that guy. Rest in peace, George Carlin. That was good. But you know, I am a big fan of Latin America. They have great food, bro. Their food there is so good down there when you get there. Oh, you get some little caparinis, you know what I'm saying? Just be popping. Big fan of South America. You know.
I wouldn't recommend you're there if somebody starts bombing transportation sites for Coke and production sites for Coke. You might want to avoid the area for a while.
I'm fine. I get in where I fit in, Dale. You know what I'm saying? I've been in some precarious situations internationally in the past, and I'm sure I may possibly be in some precarious situations in the future. Who knows? You know what I mean? But nonetheless, you know, I know God got my back. That's all that I'm worried about. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, but you can't outrun a bullet.
I don't need to. There's a lot of people I can't outrun, Dale. You know what I'm saying? I'm totally comfortable with that.
God will stop that bullet, Dale.
That's right.
Right.
He did it.
This is what the natives told themselves in the ghost dance.
Yeah, he'll just
wear this white shirt. It'll stop the bullets.
He'll tap my shoulder, and I'll turn my head, and it'll. You see what I did there, Stone? That was
all done and bump your head again, right?
Yep. Yes, indeed. Yes. And on that, we're going to roll into our final commercial, and we are going to be right back.
Oh man, your knees still bothering you, man?
Yeah, my left one, you know? And I'll tell you what, I've been using this new CBD cream, and it works like a miracle.
CBDs? I done heard about them CBDs. I was out there on them Twitters the other day, and I heard they get you high as a kite.
Well, not this stuff. This stuff is tested. Every batch, all the way through, pharmaceutical grade, and in a GMP certified facility. So you know you're not going to have to worry about flying high.
GMP certified? I might have to try some of this out. Where I'm even find this?
You go directly to aimhighhemp.com and they will ship it to your door right away. Test it. It's not a name, it's a promise.
Yes, and we are back. And on that, we are going to roll right into Mr. Nate Winokur. He's out there in the great LBC, holding it down for Long Beach today. He recently started, after his lab was targeted by the DCC, he started advocating to make sure that his message could be spread on the internet, and is now hosting the popular series Teaching Bud, which will tell you all about everything you need to know about bud and why you should not be paying attention to these artificial THC numbers. That's right, it is none other than Mr. Nate Winokur.
Thank you so much for the warm intro there, my brother.
Yeah.
I've got a quick one for you guys, but I like to reflect as much as I can with the overseas information that's coming across the board.
Yeah.
Stone, thank you for that last article. I personally believe that we're being left way behind in terms of cannabis tourism in the U.S. Just more reasons why I feel like those decision makers need to be way more aware of what the long goal could look like, assuming we all do it right? This time around, from Cannabis Health News in the UK, is UK Medical Cannabis Awareness Month. Campaigners, clinicians, and industry leaders join forces to drive momentum. Medical Cannabis Awareness Week has expanded for 2025 with an entire month of momentum-building events and educational initiatives as organizations in the sector mark 7 years since the law change. Over the last few years, Medical Cannabis Awareness Week has become an important date in the diaries of many patients, activists, and organizations in the sector. First founded by the patient advocacy group PLEA, Patient-Led Engagement for Access, at the height of the COVID pandemic, it now takes place every November to mark the anniversary of the rescheduling of medical cannabis on the 1st of November 2018. This year, the sector has gone a step further, celebrating Medical Cannabis Awareness Month, with over 30 organizations coming together to create awareness, dispel misinformation, and break down stigma through social media campaigns and in-person events. It falls as the Advisory Council of the Misuse of Drugs is conducting a major review of the legislative framework around the prescribing of cannabis-based medicines, with stakeholders including clinics, producers, manufacturers, pharmacists, patient advocates, scientists, and charities uniting to move the conversation forward. Here's a quick look at the highlights so far and what's left to look forward to. There's lobbying medical patients with MedCan Family Foundation. There is a calling for urgent action with campaigners at End Our Pain. There is a celebration for exceptional contributions at the Cannabis Industry Council Awards. There is patient-led education on medical cannabis and chronic pain. And there is additional networking events as well as expert-led clinician education at the Cannabis Health Symposium. In short, we are seeing the development of this new industry being balanced by multiple sides of the cannabis sector, the cultural sector, the medical and health sector, the business sectors. Everybody is essentially joining together in unison to promote and push forward, and go figure, they're gaining massive amounts of momentum. And this whole month of events that people can essentially look forward to and have been able to sort of collectively agree that this is what the forefront of the industry should look like is a beautiful, amazing thing. And I just wanted to share that with all of you listening and with everybody here in the room. So thank you guys so much. Really appreciate you all having me. And back to everyone else.
The UK, they're having some events, huh? Are they going to allow consumption at these
events? They've been
events?
knocking it out of the ballpark, man.
Are they going to allow consumption at these events, Nate?
Did they allow consumption at the first events that were in our industry? I don't think they did, but I can't remember
the
being
first
able
events
to see
that I
very far to
attended.
the next person because there was this wall of smoke in my way. So I could only tell you so much.
The first events I attended in the cannabis industry all had consumption as part of them.
I don't think it was really public at that point, but you knew
it was pretty public. We were right outside City Hall in San
empty-handed.
Francisco. We were right outside of City Hall in San Francisco, right at Civic Center Plaza. Nate, I mean, it doesn't get more public than that.
Doesn't get much more grassroots than that, bro.
Literally, because we were on the grass too, right on the lawn of Civic Center Plaza.
They're still trying to remind the government that cannabis is legal and it needs to be accessible over there. So obviously they're not to that point yet. Come on now.
They're not to that point yet.
They've got the patients, the advocates, the doctors all reminding the government of this, and that's a good thing.
Are you saying that they have the patience because they've been waiting for so long?
Oh, running out of patience.
Yeah. Oh man, you know, the UK, I wish they would just get their stuff together. I mean, the reality is that they could have such a robust market if they just allowed for adult use sales. I mean, there's tons of people out there that especially want to buy especially product from here, you know what I'm saying, from the US, you know what I mean, mainly from California, but the US in general. And I think we should start a whole program that's called, you know what I'm saying, like a whole import program that's called Pounds for Pounds. And that can help stimulate the U.S. economy right there. Just saying.
Well, I think the UK is just one of many countries around the world that is trying to pull their head out of their ass about drugs in general. And this one in particular, the draconian approach just hasn't worked. And as I said in the last segment, I think we should, look at a new international convention on how we deal with substances that make people feel good. Stop calling them drugs, and see how we're going to deal with this.
Yep.
Because there are places out there where there have been much different results, like in Portugal. I mean, people were reluctant to adopt the model, but they said, fuck it, use drugs if you want. We're not going to do that. We're going to educate you, and people stop using drugs so much.
Yeah.
Wow. Maybe we could think about that. Even places in the United States. I remember buying weed going into Kezar Stadium in the middle 1970s. Go in there to a concert, and everyone's burning, and they're selling bags on the way in.
Kezar.
Like it's been like that for a minute.
Man, people don't even know about those days, Dale. Man, Kezar. Yeah, I do.
Took acid, went in there, and you might buy a bag on the way in and just pass joints as fast as you can roll them. Pass a jug full of wine. Fuck. Is it allowed there? Well, I don't know. No one stopped.
Yeah, no one stopped you. Exactly. There was no. It was that was such a great, unique moment in time. I wish I was older then. You know what I mean? Then I could have really had a lot more fun. But I just got to sit around and watch all the adults have all the fun, and I was just like always jealous of that. But
we took advantage of whatever we could.
Yeah, you guys did.
And I think that was about the time the Moscone bill passed, and an ounce or less was no longer a felony.
Yep.
Stop doing that to people, and so amazingly, there were ounce bags. Literally, I'm going to a Snack Sunday concert in '75, I think. And every 20 yards, someone was selling a bag of weed going in there.
They just tell you put a lid on that.
Nobody gave a shit. There was no cops anywhere. We weren't causing no problems anywhere.
Exactly. Oh man, that was.
There are better ways to handle this than what we're doing right now. So
that's for sure. That's for sure.
the lesson.
That is for sure. And not to mention, Kezar hosts real football games. Just so you know, you guys, real football games.
And when it rains, you got wet.
That's right. That's right. You know, I saw a study. It was saying how, you know, teams that are in domes don't have as high of a winning ratio as teams that without domes.
Okay. Is that a statistic or?
That's a statistic. It is this real statistic, Dale. It's a real statistic. I think domes make people soft, not subject to the elements.
Yeah, it softens up their ACLs and
exactly
bones break. Either they get thumped in the head and they have. Yeah, right.
Exactly.
And the Earth is flat. I've heard that.
You know, I don't necessarily buy that one, but you know, there are some people that make some compelling. There are some people that make some compelling arguments. I mean, you know, in all fairness, the United Nations logo doesn't help, you know, anyone that is suffering from that either. You know what I mean? Just saying.
Yeah, cultural schizophrenia. I don't know what to tell you, dude.
Well, I have one final story for you guys today. Unless you guys have something else you want to throw in on this whole London debacle, you know, London bridges, you know what I mean? All right, fair enough. Well, Dale, this one is for you. Because a lawsuit seeks a court order compelling New York to stop illicit marijuana sales. Mondami is hard at work already, you guys. The New York Medical Cannabis Industry Association filed a lawsuit on Wednesday seeking a court order compelling state regulators to fulfill their legal responsibility to thwart the influx of illicit cannabis product and to identify and sanction the companies responsible for illegal inversion of out-of-state cannabis products into New York. The lawsuit was filed in the state Supreme Court against the Office of Cannabis Management and Jessica Garcia, chairwoman of the State Cannabis Control Board. It alleges the board and Office of Cannabis Management have disregarded their statutory mandates and abdicated their responsibility to create a safe, regulated, and insular interstate adult use cannabis market. The lawsuit contends the proliferation of illicit cannabis in New York is not only the result of unlicensed marijuana shops. It notes that illicit cannabis has also infiltrated the licensed cannabis market and has placed adult use consumers and medical patients at risk, threatened the financial viability and reputation of the regulated adult use market, and bolstered the illicit cannabis market and robbed communities impacted by the war on drugs of critical tax revenue. The botched rollout of New York's retail cannabis industry has been plagued with regulatory and administrative missteps, poor decision-making, and a lack of communication and transparency, and a bustling illicit market network that has undermined the ability of those who invested in the marketplace to do well, according to court records. Interviews with industry stakeholders and testimony at public hearings. The Medical Association's lawsuit notes that less than 30% of cannabis businesses are profitable. It also alleges that most cannabis businesses struggle to remain viable in the hope that the federal government's recategorization of cannabis from Schedule 1 to Schedule 3 will lower their tax burden and enable them to realize modest profits, you guys. The lawsuit also contends that the state has unnecessarily delayed implementation of a seed-to-sale tracking system that would sharply inhibit the ability of out-of-state actors to get their illicit products onto the shelves of licensed retail stores. And it's not the Medical Cannabis Industry Association's first legal battle with New York regulators, because 11 months ago, the association filed a lawsuit challenging the constitutionality of what it alleged was a punitive $20 million fee that's required for medical cannabis operators to enter the retail marketplace. That lawsuit argued that regulations requiring registered medical marijuana companies to make 4 payments of $5 million as a condition of entering the retail market were so erroneous that they essentially constituted a regulatory taking of their business, and at that time, when the number of individuals with valid marijuana prescriptions in New York had been plummeting. The fallout, they said, has also deprived the state of tax revenue, kept medical operators out of the retail cannabis market, and inhibited medical marijuana patients' access to products. Closures of medical marijuana businesses have limited the options for medical marijuana patients with prescriptions, and their numbers have already been sharply declining in the wake of the increase in both the licensed retail shops and illicit sales. And with fewer medical patients, there has been a decrease in medical sales, another factor that's hurt those companies. The decline has also impeded the ability of patients to obtain medical guidance for marijuana prescriptions. And New York's cannabis regulators have lost numerous constitutional challenges over the past 4 years and weathered dozens of lawsuits challenging their regulations. But medical companies were held out of the retail cannabis market for the first 3 years of the rollout, and their ability to enter it, even at a high price, has been questioned by other industry stakeholders, including cultivators, who have argued that the state's poor execution had already crippled smaller vendors in various aspects of the market, and indeed many licensed retail store owners had to wait for far longer than expected to open, while many cultivators and processors found themselves with mountains of product but not enough storefronts to sell it. 2 years ago, as lawmakers considered moving up the timeline for medical companies to enter the retail market, the Cannabis Association of New York issued a memo criticizing the decision. Now is not the time for massive out-of-state corporate special interests to jump the line and be given special treatment, especially while small and mid-scale New York operators are struggling, Canny said in the memo in June of 2023. The medical marijuana industry has pushed back, noting that state regulators and others have demonstrated a consistent pattern of hostility toward registered organizations, medical cannabis operators, and cast them as big cannabis that would destroy the marketplace for small operators and social equity licenses that include those with past marijuana convictions. But the medical industry stakeholders contend that characterization is misplaced and fails to recognize the financial stability they have brought to the industry while upholding the medical program for years. The retail marijuana market was especially harmed by the proliferation of illicit marijuana shops that exploded across the state, and they have been fueled in part by the lawmakers' decision to immediately legalize marijuana possession when the law was passed in April of 2021, long before the retail market would begin taking shape. And many law enforcement agencies had initially been reluctant to target those shops or street sales because of the decriminalization of the drug and criticism that marijuana arrests for decades had unfairly impacted minority communities. Even as enforcement efforts have been ramped up, and after the Office of Cannabis Management underwent a leadership overhaul at the direction of Governor Kathy Hochul, the inversion of illicit marijuana into the regulated market remains a serious problem, according to industry stakeholders. And the Cannabis Control Board adopted new regulations intended to strengthen enforcement efforts against the thousands of unlicensed shops. Those rules empowered the Office of Cannabis Management to work with police agencies to seize illegal product, issue fines, and close shops that were not in compliance. Officials with the State Office of Cannabis Management have said they will not comment on the litigation, and the petition filed by the Medical Association this week seeks a declaratory judgment and order compelling New York's cannabis regulatory bodies to promulgate rules and regulations to prevent the inversion and diversion of adult use cannabis from New York into other states and vice versa, and rescind the license of cannabis companies found to have imported and or exported cannabis across New York state lines, and enforce rules and regulations that require cannabis licenses to tag, label, and or record all raw material and or finished product in an inventory tracking system, and in aggregate the seed to sale tracking system no later than December 31st, and set a deadline no later than January 12th for all adult use licenses to integrate their electronic inventory system with seed to sale tracking system. The lawsuit also seeks a court order requiring the state attorney general's office to take legal action, including suspending the retail licenses of any licenses who have imported or sold cannabis or diverted it to other states. I wonder how they're going to frame that one. That's going to be interesting. But in a quote, they say, companies that that produce their cannabis goods out of state can circumvent New York's transaction costs and wholesale tax duties and sell their cannabis products at a fraction of the price of New York's legitimate operators who manufacture their products in New York and obey New York's two-tier market structure and testing rules, states the Medical Association's petition, which was filed by Matthew Schuber, an attorney with Fukerstein and Kulik LLP, which specializes in cannabis laws and represents the state's Medical Cannabis Association. Schweber wrote that the unbridled illicit cannabis market deprives New York State of critical tax revenue, some of which is earmarked for communities disproportionately impacted by cannabis prohibition, and moreover, this outflow of capital from New York to illicit players in other states directly leads to the loss of employment opportunities in state and, more dangerously, props up a multitude of ancillary criminal activity, you guys. Well. New York, the gift that keeps on giving, and I can't wait to hear what you guys have to say about this.
I'm not surprised a bit. California had the same knee-jerk reaction when people got up and running and they found out that around the block was a black market dispensary and they were underselling you, and you better do something. Let me just say this again as plain as I can. If you took every cop in the United States, told them, I want you to go out and stop the cannabis industry, could not do it. Okay? So why we keep operating in this schizophrenic world where, we're going to tax and regulate the shit out of it to stop people from the black market, it's like that makes no sense whatsoever. So at some point, it boils down to who's going to pay for it. If you want to increase enforcement, someone's going to need to pay the people who enforce it. Okay? And right now, they're struggling to get their hands on every nickel they can. And the cash cow is being milked to the point where it looks like it's from Dachau. You want them to throw more money at this? I don't know where that's going to come from. That really is the problem. If you want something to be done by government, you got to set up a bureaucracy and fund it. Then the goddamn thing's like a cancer. You can't get rid of. So,
Exactly.
We're looking at it right now. And the answer is, get the hell out of the way and let the market figure this out.
Exactly.
I feel bad for the people that were ready to do this. If you remember, like, they were all like, we're going to show California how it's done, and then the government just clipped them, man. It's been a slow motion car crash for years. I think these numbers are just giving us what we already knew. Like, look what you did to these people. You created a market that's so effed up that you allowed the illicit market to come in and just eat your lunch.
Howard, I don't understand how they're going to clean this up, how they're going to all of a sudden start suing people and this and that. Like, you have to be able to identify these people, and these people actually have to have something to sue for in the first place in order for you to even proceed in that manner. It's so ridiculous. Like,
well, and just to remind you what happened in New York during alcohol prohibition, laid a few bucks on the local cops and nobody fucked with your shop.
Yeah.
Hey, let's just be blunt about what happens here. There's bigger problems to fry than whether you're buying tested or untested weed. In my neighborhood, I'm looking for people robbing, stealing, raping, beating people up, and you're smoking a joint, really for a couple $100, I'll just walk on past.
Yep.
This is how people work. I mean, you can make all the assumptions you want about how the better angel of our natures work, but this is how people work. This ain't a big deal for people on the street trying to enforce laws where there's really seriously crazy people out there will hurt you. This is not a big deal for them.
I agree. I wonder if Modami's going to be able to clean up the illicit market that they have going on in New York City.
No. No. You can't even answer the fundamental question of who's going to pay for all this. And I'm a Democrat.
I know.
It's like,
I know.
Somebody's got to pay. We're spending like drunken sailors everywhere. At some point, someone's got to say, hey, we got to have a budget meeting here because we got more going out and we got coming in and the credit card's maxed.
Yep.
What are we going to do here?
Exactly, Dale. It's very true. Max, man. What do you think, Nate?
Jason? I would say almost exactly what's going to happen, only because from one California industry veteran to another, we saw this play out. We know exactly
we know
what's
how this movie
happen.
ends.
This is a historical arc that we've seen played out before, and we know exactly what's going on, which is that this hands-on the industry, but not a benevolent hands-on approach, like an over-regulated hands-on approach that the government tries to extend upon the cannabis industry, never works out, except for those who are willing to play by black market rules.
Yep.
So you're basically seeing, an experiment that was proven back in the days of bootlegging and prohibition. You see that playing out in its own little mini arcs over and over again. Overregulation doesn't work. You have multiple people sitting here who constantly give their own perspective on it, all of which are valid. Yeah. And you could do another half dozen more just as easily, because it's so obvious to people who live it and see it and understand it historically that overregulation doesn't work. And at any point, all of us are veritable experts on, no, don't do that. I've seen that done a lot of times, and it didn't work out for those guys either.
Yeah.
Like just to frame that idea as like a risk assessment job, that's like, we're all freaking geniuses in that respect. So that is the antithesis of what we're seeing play out here. The information was there. The opportunity to avoid it was there. As Stone mentioned, I believe that you were the one that mentioned, brother, that they had so much opportunity going for them at first. Yeah. And we all had such high hopes for the industry. And you just saw one mistake after another that we had made here in California. And all in slow motion, we're all like, oh, don't do that. And this is what's ultimately come from it, is just a recycling of the same overregulated, crappy approached non-industry that you basically have taken people's hard-earned time and money and squeezed it all out of them into nothingness. It happened to me. It's happened to a lot of our friends. It sucks. It sucks out loud even more because it's avoidable. Sucks.
Well, and metric or seed to sale is not some panacea.
Yeah.
Because here in California, we've got it. And literally, Forrest Gump figured out how to get around it. Ship shit out of state. It's like, dude, you guys, if you're not watching the system and you have your internal flags and stuff like that, and you're not willing to show up, catch people, it just keeps, it's flowing. And I'm literally, I had clients that were anything that failed a test, they said they destroyed it and shipped it out of state. It's like, well, that ain't rocket science to figure that one out because no one's checking. That's just one way to do it. And it just continues the mess we have. People are clever enough to get around this. And I want to remind people, John Hancock was the most notorious smuggler in the colonies. He's one of our founding fathers. So remember, you tell us there's a line here, fuck you. We're going around to the side door and getting in the house anyway. Okay? So deal with it. This is what you're dealing with, and you're trying to make us be something we're not. And it's not working. And we're telling you, don't do that because humans don't react that way. Well, they will if we tell them to. I raised 3 sons. How does that work out when you tell them no?
Yep. Exactly. They're going to figure out a way.
Listen,
exactly.
You dumb fuck, I told you not to do that. Now I'm bailing your ass out of jail.
Speaking of John Hancock, Dale, I heard a really interesting story, and I think it's a very interesting story. Do you know why John Hancock's signature is so big?
So that the George could read it without putting on his spectacles.
Yeah, because he was the only one that signed it that the king actually knew, and so he made his signature extra big, so then that way the king would see that this was a real thing, and because he was the only one that he knew. Yeah. Fascinating. American history here at High 9 News, Stone Slade.
I watched Ken Burns. He's got a new series out on the Revolution. That stuff's in there.
Oh, is that right?
stuff. Oh, yeah, good stuff.
Sweet. Well, and on that, thank you all for joining us and getting high at 9 with us every Monday through Friday at 9 a.m. Pacific and high noon on the East Coast. And big shout out to our audience and supporters for tuning in daily and listening to the insanity that is the developing cannabis industry. Huge thank you to Catalyst Cannabis for helping us keep the lights on over here. And thank you to our correspondents for being absolutely amazing. Thank you to Cannabis Sativa L for giving us a reason to do this every day. And thank you to Cloud Media partners Elias and Gabriel. They're somewhere in the metaverse. And thank you all for tuning in and getting high at 9 with us. We are America's #1 daily cannabis news show.